Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Jets fans. Welcome back to the Gang Green Chronicles channel. Tonight, I am joined by one of the best in the content creator business and across the Twitter sphere as well, Frankie V of UStadium. You can also find him sometimes at New York Post Sports, where he does some content there as well with Brian Costello and Ryan Sampson. But Frankie, tell the audience where they can find you. And also, you guys, I believe, also have a golf event coming up later this month, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Luca, that was very nice of you. I don't think I'm one of the best, but I try to be the best. So I do appreciate that, though. Yeah, I'm one of the co-founders of UStadium. I started UStadium almost 10 years ago with my business partner, longtime business partner, Nick Spano. And he sort of runs the event side of things. I do more of the tech side, and we both jump in with the social. But yeah, UStadium is really my day-to-day. What it basically does is it's a predictions network and news outlet for mostly NFL fans, but we're looking to expand into other sports eventually. But yeah, our event is Thursday, September 25th. It'll be in Westchester, New York, where we're from. Harrison, New York. We're from West Harrison. Harrison is the downtown version of where we're from. It'll be a charity event, and it'll be a great time. If you want to look into it, it's UStadiumEvents.com. I'll tweet it out, or people can follow us at UStadium or myself at Frankie Vitz, and you could see the information. If you're in Westchester in the New York City or tri-state-ish area, close enough to drive, it'll be fun.
Absolutely. It's a great thing that UStadium and all the fun, all the guys do is for charity. This is the second year that they're doing it. The special guest last year, I believe, was Tyron Smith, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yes,
it's going to be CJ Mosley, former New York Jet, obviously retired now. But let's get right into football. And
let's do it.
Frankie, asking you as a Jet fan, and I say more so as a content creator. I know you usually do the stuff with New York Post Sports, less with UStadium with in terms of the video content with YouTube and all that, but you have some great tweets, and that's where I think your best content is. But just as a Jet fan, being wholly
objective. You don't like me live on you don't like me on live video? Oh, you like my tweets better? Okay. I'm joking.
I know you're joking. But Frankie, as a Jet fan, you're obviously older than I am, and all these different things. It's been a long offseason for Jets fans. There's some optimism from fans. There's some skepticism from fans. What are your opening thoughts? It could be on the regime. It could be on the team's offseason, what lies ahead. Just throw it out there, man. What are your opening thoughts on this team and your just general thoughts about, are you optimistic? Are you pessimistic? Are you somewhere in the middle? Are you just trying to find hope, or are you just like, okay, prove it to me?
Yeah, man, I think the last thing you said is probably the most realistic sentiment for me, at least, about the Jets, man. I mean, they do need to prove it to me. I mean, I can be optimistic. I could be pessimistic. I can think the team's going to win a lot of games. I can think they're not. I don't think we have a good pulse on what they're going to do. We thought last year they were going to at least make the playoffs. We thought they were going to make the playoffs the year before that. They were favored last year in 14 of 17 games. No NFL team last year was favored in more games, and we won 5. So, the team needs to just go on a win streak of 3 to 4 games. They need to show that they can score 30 points and then hold their opponent to 10. I mean, you just want to see things. So for me, this season, I want to see, are they able to score? Are they able to force turnovers? Is this Aaron Glenn thing actually something that has longevity? Do we see him being our version of Dan Campbell, or is he a Bill Parcellsian kind of coach? We have to see. And I think we're not going to know after Sunday, and we're probably not going to know until a year out of this thing. We might not even know if you and I are chatting at this point next year. So, but with that being said, it's little things that happen throughout a season that give you optimism in the organization, and I think that's where your head should lie. It's like, are we making a great halftime adjustment against the Bills? Let's say they're pummeling us at 17-3 at halftime, but we get the ball back and we cut it to within a score. That's stuff that you want to see. That's stuff that great teams that make the playoffs, teams that win the playoff games, teams that win the Super Bowl, that's the stuff that they do. I mean, you saw it with this past game, Eagles Cowboys. I mean, Cowboys played better than them in a lot of ways, but Philly just knows the little things that they need to do. They get a fumble late, they know how to win. They know how to do timely things, even if they're being outplayed. So the Jets just need to do things in game, off the field too, that promote winning. And the more that they do that, and when they start doing that, Luca, I'll dive in a little bit more. But at this point, I'm just gonna wait and see approach.
I think that's a great approach, and I think it's also the right approach, and that's my approach too, Frankie. Obviously, I've been watching this team for about 14 years. We could all talk about the past, however, 14 years and go all through the events, but we're not going to. But fans are tired of cliches. Fans are tired of talk. Fans are tired of great off seasons, winning the off season. We signed Le'Veon Bell. We signed C.J. Mosley. We signed this guy in the third. All these different high profile signings, whether they flop for the most part, which they have, unfortunately, with these coaches, to Robert Saleh, all gas, no brake. Our process is too good to fail. Joe Douglas, unfortunately, seen as a great football guy. Unfortunately, he would be fired last year, mid-November. But let's get into this. I'll say with this regime right now, they're unproven to me. Aaron Glenn, yes, he has learned from Bill Parcells and Sean Payton. Doesn't mean he's going to be them. Doesn't mean he isn't going to take like staples from them and say, you know what, I'm going to integrate that into my own coaching. And I don't want Glenn to be a wannabe, like a wannabe Sean Payton or a wannabe Parcells, because that would get me like the reminders of what Belichick's staff, or I should say most of his underlings have failed to have success on the NFL, like Josh McDaniels, want to be Belichick, Joe Judge, want to be Belichick, all these different things. But Parcells is obviously a different tree and a half. Same thing with Sean Payton. But with Aaron Glenn, I'll be honest, I was actually originally against the hire because I'm not sure how you felt, Frankie. I know some on Jets Twitter, even your counterpart, Nick Spano, was like, I want an offensive-minded head coach. I want to move into the new NFL.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I was at, if I want to be honest. I'm not saying, I'm rooting against Aaron Glenn, all these different things. I was like, hey, get me Cliff Kingsbury, get me Liam Cohen, get me Todd Monken, any of those guys. Get me. And you know what? It's not even just about the offensive side of the ball. The Jets have never, at least in my lifetime, ever have hired the hot offensive name. It's always been the defensive coordinator, whether it was Todd Bowles, whether it was Robert Saleh, Eric Mangini coming from Belichick, Rex Ryan coming from John Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens. So I was like, you know what? Let's try something else. But I was like, okay, you know what? I was against Aaron Glenn being hired, was a little upset about it, but you know what? He's unproven. We're going to see what happens. That's my approach. Same thing goes for Darren Muji. He could say all he wants. Same thing for Aaron Glenn. They could say what they want, but the key is not to win the offseason. It's about results starting from this season forward. And moving into that, I'm actually going to move into this right now. Frankie, what do you think Jets fans should expect this season? Because there's a section of fans who are like, well, we should tank for the next quarterback. There's going to be a plethora of quarterbacks next year, whether it's Garrett Nussmeier, Lenore Sellers, Cade Klubnik, all these different guys. I know you were very critical of Arch Manning and his performance against Ohio State last week, but Arch Manning probably likely to come out.
That was a bad game, man. I mean, we can talk about that later or another time, but
yeah.
I mean, I'm really I was really disappointed. I just thought his delivery, his mechanics, his feel for the game, it's just like he literally looked like it was his first time playing football, college football. Obviously, I mean, it didn't look like he was there last year. It didn't look like he I don't know. It didn't look like he worked on things. He was sloppy, but whatever.
Yeah, it was mostly Quinn Ewers last year, obviously, but he
looked like Quinn Ewers that first game. I mean, listen, we have to understand not to circumvent what you're or to go around, your question or something, but we have to understand that Quinn Ewers last year with Steve Sarkisian in Texas, before the season started, he was number one on a lot of people's boards.
For sure,
at least going number one. He was a top 2 quarterback, 3, 4, top 5 quarterback for a lot of people. that season ended and he was undraftable for some people. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying the same thing's going to happen with Arch, but I don't know if Steve Sarkisian's doing some things with these guys. I don't know what the situation is, but we could talk about that another time.
Absolutely. But my main overall point was like there's a sector of Jet fans, which I think includes your counterpart, Nick Spano, which I could, again, there's no like take on the season in terms of what you expect out of the Jets or anything like that, where I vehemently disagree with, unless you're saying they're going undefeated, which would be ridiculous. But in terms of expectations, there's some fans that want to tank for the next quarterback. There's a plethora of quarterbacks next year or this year. There's fans that say, hey, you know what? I want Aaron Glenn to evaluate this team. I want the culture wins. I want to win. I hope they can win 5 to 7 games, show some improvement towards the end of the year, ready to lead into next year. And another thing with the whole expectations and carrying over next year, we haven't seen a lot of that sustained success. We haven't really seen success at all as Jet fans. So
yeah,
I think
we
fans
haven't in a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think fans would be skeptical. Obviously, Justin Fields is one thing to be skeptical or optimistic about, depending on how you feel about him as the Jets starting quarterback. But Frankie, where do you think Jets fans should expect their team to be this year? Is it wrong to want to tank for the next quarterback? Is it wrong to expect such high success? Because if you want my formal, honest opinion, I'll keep this in short so I can let you respond. I think my personal opinion, where my where I logically lie, is 5 to 7 wins. No tanking, show real improvement, because you want to go back to Robert Saleh's first year as head coach. It was a disaster. The team was constantly getting blown out by different teams. It was the Patriots blowing them out, the Bills blowing them out, all these different teams. I want competitiveness this year. I want to show there's a foundation, as you've remarked, Frankie, talking about coaching and halftime adjustments. So, Frankie, I'm curious to your thoughts. Where do you think Jets fans' expectations should lie?
Oh man, it's a rough one, because I mean, listen, your expectation should be the playoffs. Like, if you're a fan, you want to make the playoffs. That's your goal. So, I mean, that should be your expectation. Now, I understand some teams are not ready to make the playoffs, but every football season, that should be a goal of yours. Nobody thought the Commanders were going to make the playoffs last year. Now, what's realistic? I don't think. See, I'm not into the whole predict the season, talk about expectations and stuff, because let's see how the team looks.
Mm-hmm.
When we're in season, then we can start prognosticating, and then we could start thinking about, are we in the playoff hunt? Thinking about, do we need to maybe, would it be nice, wink, wink, if we dropped a few games late to move up a few spots? I mean, that's a conversation you want to have in season. This team is so new. The head coach is new. The offensive coordinator is new. The GM is new. The quarterback's new. I mean, there's new pieces everywhere. So, and especially at the most important spots, quarterback, management, head coach, decision maker, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. I don't know how these guys are going to do. I don't know how good this team's going to be or how bad. I don't have an expectation. My expectation is always playoff and Super Bowl. It should always be the highest. But you should have the highest barometer on the season. But tanking, yeah, if the team looks like crap and Justin Fields doesn't look like he's any good, it could, assuming they're Glenn and what Muji's doing makes sense or looks like there's something there, a la Dallas Cowboys with Jimmy Johnson when they went 1-15. That didn't seem to really hurt anything, right? So that actually helped. They won 2 Super Bowls after, and then they won a third. So I'm saying Jimmy Johnson won 2, and then they won one with Switzer. So yeah, I mean, yeah, man. Let's see. Let's go into the season. Let's see how they look. They look like crap, and they're 1-7 going into the bye week. I believe it's at 8 games, or 9.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Then you make a call, say, hey, after this season, we're out of the playoffs, basically, and this Lenore Sellers kid looks damn good. I mean, you're not cheering for your team to lose. It's not how it works, but you also don't really put too much, emphasis on these late wins. We've seen us win games late and lose out on Trevor Lawrence, lose out on Nick Bosa, lose out on Drake May to a degree, or one of those top 3 guys. I mean, like we've seen it. So, but teams don't really operate like that. So, I mean, like we're talking as fans about it from the outside in. Inside, they're not thinking like that. There might, you might have an owner here and there saying, this guy's not healthy. No, he is. No, he's not. We'll see.
Yeah. Regardless of Glenn, regardless of Muji, and you said it perfectly. We don't know what these guys are. We don't see the results on the field yet. We have nothing to base them off of, and it's well said by you, Frankie. But in terms of whether it was Liam Cohen, whether it was Aaron Glenn, whoever is head coach, whoever is GM, you said it perfectly. The Washington Commanders were not expected to make the playoffs last year. However, they did. You see teams turning it around in 1 to 2 years. Like the Lions had a winning record after 2 years with Dan Campbell. You have the Texans turning it around after 2 straight losing seasons where they had David Culley and Lovie Smith as head coach, where DeMeco Ryans and CJ Stroud took over, rookie head coach and rookie quarterback, ironically. But you're seeing these teams turn around, and it's no longer the 5-year plan in the NFL. It's max probably 3 years where you could turn it around. And I'm not saying the Jets have to make the playoffs this year. Would I be delighted? Hell yeah, if the Jets made the playoffs this year. Obviously, it could be a far cry, who knows? But I think at the end of the day, my opinion, expectations should be, again, we haven't seen anything of them except preseason, but preseason really doesn't matter. 5 to 7 wins, culpable progress, like, okay, this can translate into next year. That's what my idea of expectations would be personally.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, I think they're a 6-7 win team, upside of 9, floor, downside of 3. I mean, like, that's basically where they're at. But we'll know. Listen, we'll know something on Sunday too.
Oh, for sure. It's obviously, well, at least in my opinion, I think it's going to be a tone setter. Like, if this team comes out and smacks Pittsburgh in the mouth, I'm like, okay, there's some reason for optimism. Let's see how it translates against Buffalo, who's arguably a better team. But if you see, the same old where this team comes out slow and they're undisciplined, unprepared, then you have a reason for concern. But again, it's obviously one game. You take it week by week in this NFL. So,
yeah, 100%.
So moving on from the expectations standpoint, like, you can list multiple, you can list one key storyline. What is your biggest headliner for the Jets? What is your biggest storyline that you're specifically paying attention to this season for the New York Jets? It could be a position, it could be a player, it could be a coach, it could be anything. Curious to your thoughts.
It's a good question. You know what, man? I'm gonna roll with my gun on this one. I'm looking at Tanner Engstrand. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at him from a multitude of levels, dude. I really liked Luca, what he did in preseason with the play calling. I thought it was creative. There was a lot of misdirection, a lot of new age kind of stuff, concepts that he learned and helped put together with Ben Johnson in Detroit. So I'm looking at that offense, man. What kind of play calls are coming out of there? What kind of formations are we in? What kind of pre-snap, what does pre-snap motion look like? And then what does it look like post? How's the spacing out there? Yes. How are we using certain players? I mean, they're talking about Breece Hall being a factor in the passing game. I want to see, like, can Tanner scheme him open, and how does he utilize all these tight ends on the roster? So I'm really looking at Tanner this year, because I think that's something you could build off of if Tanner has a really strong year as an offensive coordinator. Again, offensive coordinators don't just call plays, right? They work on passing concepts. They work with the quarterback. They work on a bunch of different things. So I just want to see, like, how does he do overall, and then where is this offense at the end of the year under his direction? So.
For sure. It's been a while, and we're not expecting the Jets to be like a top 10 offense or something, but it's been a while since the Jets, you could say, really had a real offensive coordinator. We're like, wow, you're confident in this guy, and he could, make lemonade out of lemons, or whatever you want to say. But talking about, I'm actually on a similar stance with the offense. I think it's, to me, and yes, you could argue whether he's the quarterback going forward or not beyond this year, whether the Jets draft a quarterback next year, this, that, and the third. I'm interested to see the level that the Jets can get Justin Fields to play to. The way I see it, the Jets are probably going to play Justin Fields just like Mike Tomlin did. It was very run heavy. It was very pretty much time of possession. It was pretty much defense and special teams doing the carrying, uplifting Justin Fields. The Jets did the same thing with Zach Wilson, most notably in year 2, where they won a couple of games. But just in terms of just the overall play of Justin Fields, recalibrating the quarterback. I'm not talking about just about what level he could play at, like top 20 or top 15. I'm talking about, is he getting better with the coaching staff? Is he able to read a defense better? Is he able to read a blitz better? Is he able to process downfield? Because there's some people out here, like, I don't want to say like disqualifying like potential concerns about the offense with Justin Fields. And like, yes, the Jets want to run the ball, heavy ground and pound, all these different things. But we saw it with Zach Wilson. Maybe there's some nuance to I'm missing, Frankie, but I don't think you can run the ball as effectively as you can without a at least a viable passer to under center, where he can not only take what the defense gives him, but take a shot at least once in a while.
Yeah, the thing with Justin Fields, man, it's going to be how much RPO are they mixing in with the zone read? How much are they going to want to just to do traditional stuff? I mean, I'm kind of curious what they're viewing him as. If they're viewing him as a run-first quarterback, which I'm pretty certain they are, but Tanner does like to throw the ball, and he does come from a Jared Goff offense. So Jared Goff, I always say this, and Justin Fields, you couldn't have two more opposite style of quarterbacks, literally. So I'm curious how they're going to move forward with game plans that utilize Fields as a runner and him as a passer. Like, I think against Pittsburgh, you almost want him to throw the ball a bit more versus teams that don't have that kind of front seven that Pittsburgh has. Pittsburgh's more vulnerable in the back. Let Justin kind of throw it. But I think the more that Justin Fields is able to feel out himself and feel out what Tanner wants to do, he could start really getting things cooking, man. Because listen, Justin Fields at Ohio State, Luca, was awesome.
He was
like, really, really good.
Especially in that championship game, I believe it was against Clemson. He was phenomenal. Just seeing all the balls fly over the field. It was like, wow. I was first time I was like completely like first time I saw, I think that was like the first time I saw Justin Fields play. I was like, wow, this kid is good. Can see why he's rising up draft boards. But
yeah, so I think with him, man, you're going to want to see how does he also deal with adversity in a game. Like against Pittsburgh, there's going to be times where he's going to hold on to the ball too long. He's going to take some bad sacks. That's just what's going to happen. That's what happens against Pittsburgh. They're the number 1 ranked pass rush coming into the season from last year based on PFF. So I want to see, how does he deal with getting sacked a few times? How do you deal with being down a few scores? And that goes to, for the season. I mean, Justin Fields' record when his team doesn't score 20 points is not very good. So he struggles playing in those, high scoring affairs. I'm really curious to see, is he able to move the ball down the field in a multitude of ways, and how does Tanner use them? We'll see. But Fields, you got to unlock him, man. You got to try. And then if you can't, then you start thinking about next year.
Absolutely. I'd take the same approach. And, you heard Robert Saleh, and I'm talking about the previous tenure, the previous regime as well, when he talked about his approach, obviously offensively, when it was Nathaniel Hackett and Mike LaFleur, in terms of his approach. He's like, 1st to 20, which that's not the NFL anymore. And I talked about this in my preview when I headline my storylines and stuff. I'm like, I think I said, like, if Justin Fields is throwing the ball well, keep letting him throw the ball. Don't revert to the run game and what you're comfortable with. And you said it, Frankie, like Tanner Engstrand is going to probably pass the ball a little bit more than we expect. And hopefully, we see him as like the guru that we expect him to be, because if I'm not mistaken, Frankie, I read this somewhere that he was did he design the plays for Ben Johnson, or was he, I forget what
he was considered the passing game coordinator.
Yeah.
Apparently, I mean, nobody really knows, but I mean, they were both in the same room divvying up passing schemes and routes and how, receivers, how they're going to, fare in space and who should be where and how does this bunch formation work. You saw some of that in preseason.
Yeah.
So you did see a lot of what you saw in Detroit done here, which I'm super excited about. That's what I want to see this season. Even if we're not winning a lot of games, the offense looking good. Are you getting Garrett Wilson into like an Amon-Ra sort of role, and he could be even better? Are you able to get Mason Taylor cooking a little bit? So that's going to be interesting. How do you use Braylon Allen? Are they going to do a Braylon Allen, David Montgomery kind of role, and then are you going to have Brees beat Jahmyr Gibbs? So yeah.
Absolutely. And another thing regarding the offense, as we're on the topic of it, is who's going to emerge.
By the way, there's a car alarm outside that's going off. It has been going off since the show started. What do we start? 8:10? This car alarm
almost a half hour in
has been going off for 20 minutes. It's driving me nuts, but go on.
Oh my God.
I don't know whose car it is. It's right there. You probably can't hear it.
I don't think.
I've never, ever heard a car alarm go off for this long. Hopefully, it's on my car. I don't think it is, because I think the app would say it. But this thing is just going 20 minutes and counting. I can't even hear myself think. But go ahead. I'm glad you can't hear it. I was going to ask.
Yeah. It's all good. It's all good.
Holy
great storyline for comedic effect, obviously.
Yeah, once in a, who cares? We're doing a show, right?
Yeah, but what I was going to talk about was who, and could also be another problem for the offense. Obviously, we'll break into our one reason for optimism and concern, and we'll get down to that. But what I brought up in my video was who's going to emerge outside of Garrett Wilson to be that wide receiver too. It doesn't have to be a bona fide wide receiver, but I'm looking at guys like Allen Lazard. Is he going to step up? Because if I'm being honest, I could be wrong on the stats. He doesn't really play he doesn't play well with quarterbacks outside of Aaron Rodgers. I could be completely wrong on that. The last time he played with a quarterback not named Aaron Rodgers with the Jets was in 2023. And if you remember, he was inactive a couple games because of how bad he was. It was so awful. Obviously, of Arian Smith, who's a 6th-round pick, in my opinion, as I stated in my preview video, I'm like, as much as he could be like a diamond in the rough for the Jets, how much do you really want to put on his plate for a 6th-round pick? He's developmental. Yes, he has speed. Yes, he can run routes, but the problem has been his hands. And I don't know if it's the route tree or anything like that, but it's expecting a lot out of a 6th-round pick is a bit much to start the season. Obviously, a Mason Taylor, could he step up? Jelani Woods, who a lot of people were high on in terms of the waiver wire. Could the Jets run a lot of 22 personnel, 12 personnel, all these different things? You mentioned Breece Hall, possibly unleashing him out of the backfield. You have Braylon Allen. So, like, I'll ask you, Frankie, who do you think is going to emerge as that next weapon next to Garrett Wilson to hopefully take the pressure off of him and create an equal passing game?
It's a good question. If I had to put money on it, right? I think the safest pick there is Mason Taylor, obviously. Justin Fields loves to throw across the middle, is pretty accurate across the middle, loves throwing to his tight ends. Tanner Engstrand loves utilizing the middle of the field, loves utilizing his tight ends. Ask Sam Laporta. So, yeah, I would go there if I had to put money. But going back to that first name you brought up, listen, we can say whatever we want about Allen Lazard. Say whatever you want about him, and I probably agree with you. However, by the way, the alarm stopped. I'm back. I feel like
you're good.
I'm back on planet Earth. But Allen Lazard is the name that you're gonna have to go with as like this team's wide receiver too. Josh Reynolds was dealing with injuries. I don't know what his situation is. Tyler Johnson is on the practice squad. I don't even know if he's coming up. I don't. Arian Smith, I think, will have some flashy plays, but it's not going to be consistent enough. You got to go with Lazard. And again, say what you want about Allen Lazard, Luca. He's a wide receiver 2 or 3 in this league that can play and get away with it. And it's not like he can't play. He can play. He's good enough. He's good enough. You could throw him out there and say, "Oh, you're wide receiver 3." There's really no one on this roster you could say that for. You could even say you're wide receiver 2, and close your eyes when you're saying it, and tape your mouth before you say it. But you can say it though, and you really can't say that about any other wide receiver on this roster.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely going to be a big year for Lazard, see what he does with Justin Fields. But Josh Reynolds, he's Probably at best a wide receiver 4, in my opinion. Apparently, Aaron Gled said that everybody should be good to go for Sunday. So Reynolds, I think, is healthy, and or at least should be healthy. Tyler Johnson's another name you brought up. He got limited action in the preseason with the starters. Ultimately demoted to the practice squad shortly after being cut. But Xavier Gibson's also named, but he's more so going to be on specials. But I got to agree. I'm going to go with Mason Taylor as somebody who's going to step up alongside Garrett Wilson. Lazard could be that guy who could be like a safety blanket. Same thing for Mason Taylor too. But my best bet is probably Mason Taylor, and I think he's going to get a lot of production, as you said, with Engstrand, having the ability to scheme guys open, using the middle of the field with the tight ends, especially Sam Laporta. But moving away from the offense, and this is more a general team perspective, what is your biggest reason for positivity? I know we talked about our expectations and where we stand and optimism, pessimism, realism. What is your biggest reason for positivity with this team? I know you mentioned Engstrand. Is it still Engstrand or possibly another factor?
Man, I think it's simple, man. It's Tanner Engstrand, and it's a defense that's super talented, that if they can figure out a way to force turnovers, you're a quarterback away. I mean, really, the offensive line too. I mean, we really have all the pieces. You need a wide receiver 2. You need to develop a tight end. Hopefully it's Mason Taylor. Could be somebody else. You need a quarterback, and you need a head coach, obviously, too. But if Tanner can call plays, the quarterback is good, and the defense is able to, force turnovers, create turnovers, you got something. So that's something you could look forward to, but those things have to actually happen. Defense has to create turnovers. The offensive line needs to look good. You need to find a quarterback. So there's still steps. But overall, you need to find a wide receiver 2. But they have the wide receiver 1. They have the running back room that they can add to if Priest leaves. I'm confident you could draft someone. The quarterback you got to find, but tight ends look fine for the most part. I mean, you drafted one in the second round, so he should be good. Good enough to be like your tight end 2 at the least. Going to the defense, the defensive line has you have Q, you have Jermaine back, you have McDonald had a big year. Now they got this Harrison Phillips guy who I really, really like. The linebackers are stout, Sherwood, and then Quincy. And we don't know what's going to happen with Quincy. He's on the last year of his deal. So yeah, and then the D-backs are fine. I think there's got to be some stuff done there outside of Sauce. I don't think Brandon Stevens is going to be here for 2-3 years, and the safeties are kind of thin. But overall, I do really I do look at this roster and say, you get a quarterback, and with the the talent on the front 7, you address some players in the back half. You could make some stuff happen, man.
Absolutely. And I'll say my biggest 1 or 2 reasons for optimism. You mentioned the defense. I think they're going to be better. I like that they're going to be more aggressive this year, more blitzing. And hell, the Jets could even throw out a blitz on the first play to Aaron Rodgers. But I do like I'm higher on the front 4 than I was like about a month ago, because the Jets didn't have Harrison Phillips and they didn't have a DT2 next to Quinnen Williams. And the biggest problem, with some of the criticisms of Quinnen Williams, he has double teams. He doesn't break the double teams. But Harrison Phillips, I think, is either going to be that guy who can really have great production this year. Again, he's a solid defensive lineman, but I think he'll either break up the double teams for a guy like Quinnen Williams, or he could break free from those single coverages, single matchups with Quinnen Williams being double teamed, where he could take the weakest offensive lineman to task. Obviously, you have Jermaine Johnson. Hopefully, he's coming back healthy and ready to go. Will McDonald had a good year last year as well. But the one thing I'm concerned about with the defensive line is more so the depth. But to move to the other reason of optimism I have would be the offensive line. I agree. I'm very intrigued to see what Steve Hyden brings to this unit. Jets didn't have a good offensive line coach for the past 2 years with Keith Carter. This is a very young offensive line. So it's not like, Tyron Smith or Dwayne Brown or any of these guys that are like really, really old. This is a unit that can grow together. Put aside Elijah Vera Tucker's injury. It's very unfortunate. But you have Membu, you have Tippmann, you have Fashanu. Those guys, if they turn out really good, and Tippmann arguably is playing his best position at right guard, you can have those guys grow together for the next 5 years at probably minimum, you could argue. And when was the last time the Jets offense, you could say that about a Jets offensive line where you have pieces 2 to 3 that can grow together on the offensive line.
Yeah, man. I mean, the last time was really, I would say, when you had your, you got the Brickashaw, Ferguson, and some of those guys. But yeah, I mean, this group can be as good as anything in the last 20 years. So, but they have to get there, man. Nothing's given in football, right? Like,
absolutely.
You can assume this, you can assume that, you could say this guy's a first rounder. Nothing's given. So they got to do it. Armand Membu hasn't played a game yet. He's going up against TJ Watt. Olu Fashanu, who I was huge on, he was my favorite tackle in that draft. I would have taken him over even Joe Alt. That's how much I liked him. Seriously, I was big on him. He's got to play.
Absolutely.
John Simpson had a really good year. He didn't have good years before that. How's he going to look? AVT's done, at least for the year. And then what? I mean, like, the offensive line's got, before we have to hold our horses a little bit before we start comparing them to, the Brickashaw line and Mangold and whatnot, and the Kevin Mawai years. Like, they're not there yet, and you got to play. We do a little bit, I think, as fans and content people, we do a little bit too much. Like, oh, this makes sense. This was that pick. This guy looks like this in camp and preseason. Thus, it's going to make this unit. No, man. When the chips are on the table and NFL ball opens up, when 1 p.m. hits on Sunday and that first kickoff happens, nothing matters about when you were drafted, who drafted you, how you looked in camp or preseason. Things change. Some guys get better too. Some guys get worse. Some guys can't deal with it. Some guys shine. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just more mentioning so for like the potential, not so much like, oh, well, this is what they're going to be as in terms of like a prediction, but like potential. There's a potential there. Obviously, Frankie, you're absolutely right. They have to play. They have to take the snaps on the field. We'll see on Sunday, but if you had to, we'll move to the other side. If you had to pick your biggest reason for concern with this team.
Concern. I would just say the volume of the passing offense, man, the volume of yards through the air, like that's an area of concern. Is the quarterback? Listen, Tanner's going to be able to scheme it open. I really believe that. I don't know if the quarterback is going to be able to do it. I don't think he's going to be able to throw for 300 yards. Tanner will scheme up something that he's going to be able to throw for 300 yards or at least 250. This guy's handcuffed or handicapped at 190. That's a cause for concern.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I'd say my biggest reason for concern is also the quarterback, because, and also merges together with the coaching staff, because this offseason, the Jets, whether we like it or not, I was personally in favor of the decision, took a calculated risk for some fans and decided to let go of Aaron Rodgers, all these different things. And they said, you know what? We're going to set our eyes on Justin Fields. Now, Justin Fields has potential. There's untapped potential there. There's talent there, as you broke down, Frank, especially from his Ohio State days. It really hasn't hit yet. And could it? Absolutely. Could he turn around? Absolutely. But the Jets are definitely taking a risk on Justin Fields, who – obviously, this is a mostly veteran coaching staff with some names like Scott Turner. Engstrand's obviously a rookie offensive coordinator in the NFL. You have, I forget the quarterback's coach's name. I forget his name. But he was working with Geno Smith. He was also working, I think, down in Atlanta too. But the coaching staff taking a risk and failing on Justin Fields is my biggest concern. And it wouldn't be, maybe it's not so much the coaching staff. Maybe maybe next year they select a quarterback and they say, hey, you know what? They can develop this guy. But it would just kind of leave a stain, in my opinion, if they can't really get anything out of Justin Fields. Again, not that it would be 100% on them. Obviously, it would be on Justin Fields as well, because it would give reasons for for a bit of concern for the next quarterback with the staff and Justin Fields and developing and all that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So with that, we'll move into our season preview awards, just kind of rapid fire. And also as well, I'm going to do my ceiling and floor. I know, Frankie, you mentioned that you're not high into predictions and all these different things, but
listen, I do them all the time. I'm not high on them. They don't mean anything. They don't, there's no, what's the point? We don't know. Every year things change. Who saw Jaden Daniels get into the NFC Championship game last year? Who saw Nick Foles winning a Super Bowl? Who saw Derrick Henry having the year he had in Saquon last year? I mean, like before the year, I'm saying like things change, man. That's why I'm fine with doing the prediction stuff. Our network is prediction. Like I'm a prediction person, but I also like with the Jets. There's so many new things. I don't know, you know. But let's do it. I do predictions on Gangs All Here. I do them all the time, so I'm ready for you. That alarm, by the way, just an update on the alarm. This alarm went off, went back on. It's still going on now. I have never. So now we're at 50 minutes. This thing's been going off for 45 minutes. Literally, I'm surprised you don't hear. No, yeah, it's going on and then it's going off. I want to get up and figure out what car it is and move it, but I'm kidding. But or take a bat to no, I'm kidding. But this car, this is insane, Luca. Like I'm telling you right now, it's maddening. I've never seen a car alarm go off for 45, like loud, but whatever. It's driving me nuts.
I could only imagine. I could only imagine.
There's little certain pet peeves, dude. This one I cannot understand. I'm done.
All right. So
and I took off my noise cancellation headphones before the show. I should have just kept them on. Whatever.
So it's all good. So moving into the predictions, it's our final segment of the show. I think we covered a lot of ground to start. It's going to be season preview awards and then our final record predictions. And we could also do ceiling and floor if we want, and maybe even share our predictions for Sunday's game. Let's start with offensive and defensive MVP, where you could do team MVP if you want, Frankie.
Okay. Jets offensive MVP will be Olu Fashanu.
Nice.
You like that one?
Yes, I do.
I wanted the bank for that one. Defensive MVP, going with my guy, always my guy, Jamie Sherwood. That's my dude. I'm a big fan. I think team MVP, if you want that. Team MVP, I'll say it. I don't think he's gonna have a huge year, but I think he'll have an important year. Is Garrett Wilson.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this. Again, prediction. Do you think he still continues with that 1,000-yard streak?
Not necessarily, but I think he'll be right around there.
Yeah, that's a fair prediction. For my offensive MVP, should I say, could be also breakout candidate of the year, you could argue. I think I'm going to say Braylon Allen. You know, if this offensive line really gels and the Jets have a formidable passing game, Braylon Allen, I really could see breaking out. He showed some really good flashes last year, more physical than Brees, arguably has better vision. Obviously, Brees has the burst more so than Braylon Allen. Braylon Allen was originally viewed as a short yardage back, but he's actually younger than me, which is stunning. But with Braylon Allen, I think this is his year to shine. It'll start out, in my opinion, where 40% of the snaps goes to Brees, 40% of the snaps goes to Braylon, and 20% probably goes to Isaiah Davis. But as moving forward, I don't think Brees is a long-term answer at running back. I could very well see the Jets trading him at the deadline. Obviously, that's weeks and weeks away. It depends on how the Jets do and Brees Hall does. I don't think they're going to extend him, but I think this is Braylon's time to shine. Offensively, I think he takes the MVP award. For defense, let me think. MVP. I'm actually going to say Sauce Gardner. You could argue comeback player of the year because he didn't have such a great year last year. I think him being in man coverage and being in a very aggressive system where it allows him to get handsy a little bit, I think Sauce Gardner is going to have a bounce back year as opposed to last year. And hopefully his partner, Brandon Stevens, fits the part to be that cornerback too. You never know. Maybe if he struggles as Azariah Thomas, who a lot of fans were high on, I thought was a really good value pick for the Jets, could possibly step in for Stevens if he struggles, but hopefully he doesn't. But we'll move on to the next preseason award. That is, as in before the season, most improved player. So MIP. Frankie, your thoughts?
Most improved player. Trying to think of a good one. You know what, man? I can't believe I'm saying this. I really like Quantez Stiggers.
Wow.
I know that he didn't look good at all in preseason. I also don't like that they're playing him at corner. But I think once he gets on the field, I think you're going to see some plays from the kid. I want him to be a safety
Mhm.
not a corner, which they're kind of playing him at corner. But I think by the end of the year, I hope at least with Wilkes there and Glenn, both defensive guys, I think they might put him in some positions where you'll be like, wow, this kid can make some plays, because he's at a point now where most of the fan base doesn't even really want him on the roster, care if he makes the 53. So I think at by the end of the year, I think that sentiment could change.
Absolutely. And I'm also hoping for the Jets at the end of this year that they, and I personally liked Malachi Moore coming out of Alabama. He was very, very much seen, although raw, seen as very much a high IQ prospect. Not exactly high on the Jets safety room, must I say. I'm not a big fan of Tony Adams. Andre Cisco's, I think, all right. I don't think Cisco's a long-term answer, but if the Jets do what your plan says and put Stiggers at safety, and then you could obviously have Malachi Moore, hopefully shoring up that back end. You won't have to draft a safety or even sign a free agent safety next year. So that would definitely be an ideal scenario for the Jets. Most improved player for me, this is a tough one. Maybe I go Olu Fashanu. I got to be honest. I know you have him as the offensive MVP. Maybe there is a scenario where he becomes the most improved player. Maybe he's both the offensive MVP and the most improved player. But in my opinion, Fashanu, I think he's going to take hopefully, as long as the Jets have good coaching with Steve Hyden, I think he takes a big leap this year. I think he shores up that blind side that the Jets haven't had since the days of DeBrickashaw Ferguson. And with that, moving on, comeback player of the year. Who do you think had a bad year last year, could possibly have a good year this year?
Comeback player of the year.
Or even if this player was hurt last year, I think there's one.
I mean, who's like a can? I mean, do you want to say Jermaine Johnson?
You probably can make that argument. He's probably the
I think Jermaine Johnson's a good pick. Yeah, I like that pick a lot. I think his Achilles will be fine. He's a workout warrior, man. I don't think he'll it'll hurt him too much. Like that injury, I think with people that don't put so much emphasis on fitness and stuff, he'll be fine.
I think you could say Jermaine Johnson. I think you could also possibly say Quinn Williams with an actual DT2 next to him. Because if you remember last year, Javon Kinlaw was his partner on the defensive line, and it didn't really look so well. But overall, looking at it, I think I'm going to say Jermaine Johnson. But I'm going to do one more award, or I should say, you know what, we'll do most disappointing, and then we'll move to our record predictions. Also throw rapid fire prediction for this Sunday. So who do you think will disappoint this year, Frankie?
Disappoint. I'm gonna go. Listen, man, you're not gonna like this answer. I think Sauce will look a little iffy this year at times. I don't know if he's I don't want to get too much into it. I took a lot of crap for my Sauce stuff, but people think Sauce is the best corner in football. I don't know about that. We'll see this. We'll see this year. And I know he's dealing with a little injury thing too. So I mean, like, I wouldn't be surprised, I'm saying, if at the end of the year his top three cornerbacks standing that people are on right now, it's like, all right, he had a down year. We're hoping he can recover next year. So
yeah, I think my disappointing player would be Breece Hall. I know I mentioned that I possibly see him getting moved at the deadline. Obviously, if the Jets, whether playing bad or they obviously don't plan to re-sign him, but moving away from the season preview awards, just getting into the final nitty gritty. Your record prediction for the New York Jets, and are the Jets winning on Sunday, and by what score? Or obviously record prediction and score prediction.
Yeah, 7-10. I'm sticking with 7-10. I've been on 7-10 the entire offseason. I've talked myself into 8 and 9, and then I talked myself down to like 4 and 5. I'm on 7. I'm just gonna stick with 7-10. I think they win Sunday. I said it on the show. I think they win Sunday. I think I said it. Aaron Glenn's a man on a mission. I think he wants that game more than the other Aaron does, and I'm looking at, like, I said 17-14. I think we win last drive, sort of Nick Folk hero kind of magic, a little gift from the football gods after this AVT catastrophe. It seems they throw us a bone like they did when we beat Buffalo when Aaron got hurt. So yeah, 7-10, but we win Sunday 17-14.
I'm going to say the Jets will finish 5-12. Doesn't mean they can't finish higher or lower. 5-12. There are some winnable games on the schedule, but I think the offense sputters a little bit with Justin Fields. I don't think Fields turns around this year. I hope to be wrong. But I actually do have the Jets losing on Sunday 16-13. I think it's one of those low-scoring battles. It's actually, I think, supposed to rain at MetLife Stadium on Sunday, so it possibly could favor the Jets. You never know. But right now I have it 16-13. I think both teams will play a similar style of ball, keep away, time of possession, defense, all those different things, especially on heavy on the ground game. But with that being said, I gave my predictions. Frankie gave his. Frankie, do you have any final thoughts? Also, where could my fans find you? Also, I posted these in the
thank you so much.
You are and in the description.
Hey, final thoughts are learn if you want to, talk about football, and we're talking about football and we're talking about the Jets, man, dive in, spend some more time looking at the all 22, follow some really good Twitter accounts out there. They've helped me out throughout the years. There's a guy, Dan Casey. There's a bunch of cool accounts out there. If you want to really become a content person, or you want to understand the Jets and the game, you got to educate yourself. Knowledge is power. Now, even, man, you can use ChatGPT to even learn stuff. I remember I asked ChatGPT a question the other day about the RPO. Like, most people don't know this. Quarterbacks don't run usually out of the RPO. You know that, right? Like, a quarterback running is not part of the RPO. It's run.
It's a fake run pass.
Yeah. It's so, like, I was asking what situations would a quarterback want to run it out. You might think it's an RPO when it's actually a zone read. So the RPO can mask your zone read play and you don't know what they're running. So yeah, it might look like an RPO. For the defense might think it's an RPO, and then the quarterback keeps it because it was a zone read. But the RPO is not so, like, there's little things that are interesting, teach you about the game, talking points for content, kind of gives you information on Justin Fields. Oh, well, if the RPO is able to do this and you're able to mask a bunch of stuff, maybe this will help him if he can develop through that. So it might give you some more confidence in Fields. That's the whole, final point. Educate yourself on the game if you love it. Educate yourself on anything if you're passionate about it. It's always a key life point in general. Frankie V's on Twitter, and then I'm part of UStadium, the letter UStadium. And I do. I'm a contributor with the New York Post Sports, so I don't work for them, but I contribute with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it, man. Great show. I'm happy to come on throughout any point in the season, man. Luke, I really do. I really do appreciate it.
Thought it was a great conversation. Armin gives his predictions. The Jets will go 6-11. The Steelers win 17-14. Similar to my prediction, the 16-13. But once again, guys, if you haven't already, check out Frankie V, UStadium on X. All the links in the description. His work at New York Post Sports. Again, he's a contributor, not really formally working there. UStadium on X, UStadium on YouTube. Just check out his Twitter account in general. He just does some great football analysis. Very underrated, must I say. But if you guys haven't already too, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so when I go live or drop a new video. Also, feel free to comment down below on some of these streams. Also, share out too. And also as well, throw me a question on some of my videos. Give me your thoughts, positive, negative, whatever. But I say I've really enjoyed doing the stream with Frankie. I enjoyed you guys being here. I can't wait for football season. Sunday is almost here, folks. But with that being said, we're out of here. Let's go, Jets.